Top Hill Recording Podcast, episode 202. Special guest tonight, Limestone. If you could, real quick, before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe on all our stuff. Hit YouTube, go over to Top Hill Recording Podcast, and follow and subscribe. Our guest again tonight, Limestone. You guys, everybody, how are y'all doing tonight?
Hey, what's up? Great, thanks.
Hey, we had a killer 4-song set earlier, man.
Yeah, it was dope.
Oh,
Big
man,
ass
thanks so much.
band.
Thank you.
I appreciate
They even
you all
clapped.
being
That was
patient. Yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah, you
Impressive.
gotta. Yeah, I mean, you all sounded great. The mix was good. I love the songs. Like, band is very unique. I don't like. I mean, I read your all's like Spotify bio, but I don't even really know how to describe your all's like sound or what you all would call
We've
it.
had the same trouble.
Yeah, I don't think we do
Everyone has
either.
said that. Everybody said that. And
It's a group of people playing music, and each song sounds different.
Well, all 4 songs were very different.
we don't have any rules for our band. It's whatever music comes out, comes out.
When you guys know, the first time you tell somebody, like, oh, yeah, I'm in a band, and the first thing they goes, well, what kind of music do you play?
Yeah.
And I'm always like, well, so we hit a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then they just get more confused the longer I talk. So like, it's kind of a rock band.
When you have 6 people, I think you probably, and especially if you have 6 open minds, music is going to take you in a bunch of different places with all the influences you have, especially, instrumentation. You got Way doing keys, violin, you got the trumpet, a horn section in the band all by himself because he's so good. So before we get too deep into that and kind of how we got to this point to where Limestone is and how Limestone got together, why don't everybody going from my left introduce yourself and tell what you do in the band?
Yeah, so my name's Blair, and I try to play drums.
My name's Wei. I play violin primarily and do keys. I play ukulele on that one song, and I sing on that one song.
Way's the assassin of the band, can do it all.
True.
A little bit
Multi-purpose.
of everything. That's the one. That's
True.
killer.
Ways our Swiss Army knife.
Yes, absolutely.
and I'm Jeff. And I play acoustic guitar mainly, but also switch to bass guitar as well.
And he writes many of our riffs.
Yeah, I'm InSub. I sing lead vocal on, I guess, the majority of our songs, and I play bass on, I don't know, a little more than half of them. And sometimes I'm just doing just vocals. So
You've played
Well,
ukulele for us too.
Oh, and keys. Yeah, I took over keys and ukulele from InSub. So
Oh, okay.
Keys is probably my primary instrument. So bass is actually kind of somewhat new for me.
So yeah, I'm John, and I am the single trumpet player here. One song that we didn't do tonight actually requires flugelhorn. So come check us out, and you'll get to hear something you don't hear every day.
A flugelhorn. Oh.
Amazing. I'm Stephen B, and I play the guitar and help write a song or two, and
He's being
know,
modest.
just,
He's a really good
try and-
songwriter.
try and help with the direction, and really happy to be part of the band.
So how did Limestone come about? I don't know who answers that. I don't know if everybody answers that, but
Well, I think so. Jeff and I go way back. We're practically brothers. We've been best friends since we were like 5 years old, and we played different projects over the years, and had kind of a long stint where I don't think that either of us had a project going. And
Yeah, it's been about since we were 14 or so. We messed around with, kind of, we didn't know what we were doing. Just get 2 guitars, no vocals. Then we threw in some keyboards, and people came and went. Really, we have had other people that played with us, and they left. But one thing we could not find was a drummer. We could never find a drummer. That was
so
really
hard.
hard to find. And
especially one that's cool,
eventually we met Blair.
or more importantly, thinks that you're halfway cool. Sorry, man.
Eventually we met Blair, and it was like when we met him, it's like everything that came together finally. 'Cause we just needed that drummer that just held a rhythm.
That other dad.
Well, that drum machine stuff
Yeah.
you're doing was pretty cool. You showed me when I
Oh.
first
The drum machine just doesn't do it, it keeps a beat, but it's just soulless, and just it's hard to do something with. And
Unless you're just an amazing drum programmer, which neither of us were. So, But then, yeah, so once Blair was coming around, and then we still had a few come and go. So since Blair, how long has it been?
I think it was something at St. Bridget in like 2017
Oh yeah,
in the fall. So
yeah. So
a couple of weeks later, I was in Jeff's basement with my drum kit.
Nice. So that's
I'm
where
learning about my band. This is amazing.
and then we met Way, and Way came along, and
Well, Greg came first, so he wrote a bunch of songs with y'all, and I overlapped.
Yeah, we're having
for a few years.
a member we used to have, and he moved to Portland, Oregon, and he was a big part of the band actually, and just he wanted to do other things and see different places
for me.
Yep, and then Steven took his place. There's a lot of moving parts to what it is today, and happy what we got today. But yeah, it took. We even had a singer that didn't really last too long, but we had a different singer, and so he didn't really work out. And everybody in this band gets along very good, and we all have jobs, of course. We have a busy life, and it works what we do.
Wait, how long do you think you were playing with us before you tricked John into coming in?
Oh, well, so I joined in the fall of 2021.
And well, it was like a couple weeks later. Like
No,
I joined
it
in
was
May.
a little.
I joined in
because-
May of 22.
Because
Yeah.
John joined after me.
No, you joined the same month.
Well, but it was the same month that I come in to a session with you guys. And this is a good story because we were all playing together, and it's like, man, this is a big band. We got 5 of us. This is amazing. And then like there was a practice, maybe 2 practices after that, where Way sent the message saying, hey, would you guys mind if my friend John like comes in?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember like we were like looking around being like, I mean, how are we gonna, because our practice space is not bigger than this room.
Yeah, we play in the
So
basement
we're
about
like,
this
wow,
size.
man, we're really packing Jeff's basement, And but sure, because we're inclusive and we want to like just like if you play a kazoo good, man, come in. We'll take you, whatever.
I'm
You
glad
gotta be
the-
free on Fridays.
Yeah,
I'm glad the bar is so low.
to set the bar real high. And John came in that one session, and he's classically trained, and like some of us are like all self-taught, and like, well, Way is not, but
No, Way is definitely
Way is classically taught.
trained.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
Way is
right,
not.
right,
Way
right.
is not self-taught.
got it. Yeah.
So it's kind of like this good mix. And this guy like set our stuff on fire immediately. And it was like, wow, okay. Now we have a trumpet player. He's definitely in the band. Yes. So we're very happy about having John.
I guess there's a story with me and John because I moved to Louisville in 2014, and then I needed something to do in my spare time, so I joined the community orchestra.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and that's where I met John.
Right.
Because,
So I joined this community orchestra a couple of years, I think, before Way did, and was kind of instrumental in like really revitalizing it. We had like $400 to the organization, and now we're doing fairly well. It's the Louisville Civic Orchestra.
It's an amazing.
our other
orchestra.
band.
Yeah, our other band. But really, for me, this was an opportunity. Jazz improv scares the hell out of me, right? So the chords move really fast and they're very complicated. So Way was like, do you want to join a rock band? And kind of secretly so, I was like, hell yeah, I do. And then I was like, is there sheet music? No. so everything that I've played tonight, I've had to kind of figure out over several rehearsals.
It's written on a dry erase board, like A,
just those
G,
chord
E
symbols,
flat.
right?
Yeah,
And thank goodness,
6-point font, I think, at this
the
point.
nature of rock music, the chords are slightly easier, more straightforward. So this has been a really, really fun learning experience for me, and kind of stretching what I've done as a classically trained trumpet player as well.
While
John,
he learns that, we're amazed.
what's hilarious about that, John, to me is you say, well, it's rock and it's easier, but like this band's not straightforward.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, it is not straightforward too.
Everything
True, yeah.
has a right turn. You played 4 songs and it's like we're going somewhere else now. We hit this turn and then it comes back. It's very, very cool. It's interesting and it keeps you engaged in a way that sometimes if it would have just stayed the same thing, maybe you would have kind of got lost in the shuffle. But you all don't allow for that, which is awesome.
Oh man, thanks for that.
Yeah, very cool. Some of the endings I felt like were super dope on a couple of them tunes where I felt like it took a turn where I'm like, it's over. I'm like, oh shit, it's not over. There's something cool left here.
We're all about the outro.
Well, I mean, if you had two classically trained musicians in your band, I'd probably be all about whatever space I could create myself. When you all rolled into the room, I didn't know what to expect. The only thing that I have heard has been a rehearsal, some audio rehearsal that was sent whenever Brad got it. And I don't know how long ago that was. So that
was last May.
Okay, yeah.
Right before High Horse.
It's been a minute. So I listened to it and I thought, man, this is good. It's very interesting. And then I thought, all right, 6 people. All right, what's this going to look like? How's this going to feel? We haven't had 6 people in this room. So the most important thing always is, can you listen to each other? And I think, and then will you trust me? Will you trust us to do on this side of it to get you as quiet as we need you to be or as balanced out as we need you to be? And I got to tell you, it translated so well from what we were listening to in the headphones to what you all came in and did. So I'm really excited, number one, about hearing it and the versatility of what you all did with those changes is just, I'm telling you, it's very, very interesting and very intriguing to listen to on this side of it. So kudos, number one. And number 2, you all need to get some stuff out there.
Yeah, you need more stuff out there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Always on Mondays, like when I'm at work, I'll put on, whoever the guest is, I'll put on their tunes like throughout the day. But y'all only got like 2 songs out on Spotify. Yeah, it did not take me long to listen to the 2 tunes. So
I think part of the issue, if I'll speak for just a moment, is that like there are a lot of moving parts, and I came in a couple years ago, maybe not even, and all of us, that come in, it's like a team. You start off and you kind of feel it out, but as you start playing the game, you get better and better.
Mm-hmm.
You start to really learn about each other, get to know people's intricacies and when it's time to back off and let them shine. And that's kind of like something we've been working to create before we actually try and just throw anything out there. So we're definitely making that progress. And that's a goal of ours, is to get some material out there under this new umbrella.
Well, you sounded great tonight. I hope to see a Live at Top Hill EP come out here.
Those are releasable for sure. We've got quite a bit of those out these days, which is pretty wild.
I kind of feel like we have a little bit of a double-edged sword. So it's not really a bona fide leader. And so on the one hand, it's like, oh, cool, there's not a leader. And then on the other hand, sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle where there's like, oh, there's not like a final decider to be like.
Yeah, I was going to ask who's in charge, because you have a big ass band.
Who cracks the whip,
Way.
I would say, yeah.
It's Jeff's basement.
Most of the booking,
It's Jeff's basement.
Yeah,
I know. Everybody's
house.
got a little lead.
I handle all the tech stuff. I do the recording and the mixing and the mastering.
Right, we're lost without
You
InSub.
Always be
recorded
recording.
the tunes that are out like now?
Those are recorded where we rehearse in the basement.
Those sound great. Yeah, those sound
thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's hard to record stuff at home. I've tried many a time, and it is difficult to get a sound that is natural.
Drums was a big learning curve for me when Blair came along, because before that, all I had done was electronic music, and that's, it's already pre-processed and everything's really easy to mix it. And I was like, oh yeah, you got this whole, drum mic kit, and we're going to mic everything. But when I tried mixing it, I was like, why doesn't this sound good? Because it wasn't played good. It was played excellently. And it was just too much for me. I'm down to using like 4 mics now. And that's something I can more handle. I can deal with kind of the phase issues of 4 mics. But yeah, trying to deal with 8, it was just.
Oh, it'd be crazy
too
at
much
the
fun.
house. Yeah. I always use just program drums if I'm making demos or anything. And that's why it's cool to come here and there's just the one mic for everything. And it definitely makes it a little bit easier than I was just in the studio. And I swear I felt like there was 20 mics on the drums. I was like, I would hate to mix this. This is crazy.
A one mic scenario actually ends up teaching you a lot, because I think I had a day where my equipment wasn't working right, and we were like, well, we're going to record rehearsal anyway. And so we just stuck the one mic right in the middle of the room, and I was like, well, we'll just capture it the best we can in here. And then I listened back, I'm like, how come this drum sound better on this one mic than when I was mixing 8 channels of mics?
Mm-hmm. You can wear yourself out listening to those drum takes and all that. It almost becomes too much sometimes, where I think the simplicity in the one mic thing for us was that, I mean, all you have to do is record what you all sound like in this room. If you can get a true mix and a true feel for that, with mic placement and volume settings inside of this room, and we deaden all the other stuff and do the things that on our end can help you all sound not even better, just actually get what you're playing a little clearer.
Sound better live.
Yeah. I really, anything that I tend to do live feels better to me than anything that I record in the studio. Even if it's this studio.
There's an interaction. It's a conversation.
Yeah. It's more organic. There's more emotion behind it. It feels more real. It reminds me of I spent most of my life around a bonfire.
Yeah.
Playing guitar and singing with my friends. Right. And there's something about what like you all did tonight and what I think that this one mic setting provides is that it kind of takes you to that. It takes you to sitting around with your friends and playing in those rooms where it's, you all just got done with the big practice in your big band, and it's 3 or 4 of you sitting around that have been worn out, and you've had a hard week, but you've been, you just worked out through this crazy piece that you all have worked out. And there's something in the air that puts you 4 in the room, and you play this thing and you're just locked in, and it can never be created again. And there's something that happened that you had to have that to make you feel better for the shitty week that you've had. Oh, yeah. It's just the way that things work out sometimes, And I think that capturing those moments is important, and it's hard to do. So I think tonight you all did that in a way that is one of one. It's unique to tonight. It can't be redone.
That's the best part about coming in here, is getting to just like, because live is live, and it's just, there's something human about it. Like when you go to the studio, I mean, there's edits, there's all this stuff, and it sounds good in the end, but like something about just a band in a room, hearing them, like you can never replace that. Even when I hear recordings of myself at a show, and you miss a note or whatever, but sometimes you're like, that was fucking dope. And you're like, that was a great performance, even if you didn't hit everything. And you all hit you all sounded great tonight. It was really, really cool. It was
a purposeful, accidental.
Yeah.
So one of the things, like we have like started recording just a little bit, trying to get some of the new songs down. And one of the things that we figured that I've learned that we're blessed with is we have a drummer, and his name's basically Two Take Blair. I mean, you give him 2 takes, and it's like, yeah, that sounds. Which one you like? The first one or the second one? They're both really good.
They're identical because he plays in like a metronome.
He's in the pocket, exactly.
Yeah, his nickname is the Eternal Pocket.
So hopefully that'll speed up things for us.
Yeah, that's helpful. Like you mentioned, recording drums. Like I think there's a reason why most producers are drummers, because recording drums sucks ass, and so like that's why they just do it. Yeah,
not with Blair. It's quick.
You're too nice. But going back to like your point though, like catching the magic, like that's we try to do ABR, always be recording, because it's like you get those jams early on, like as like a warm up, and you're at the end of it, you're like, man, what was that?
Yeah.
You try to do it again, and it's just not
never do it again.
The same.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, can't catch
every once in a while. I forget to hit the record button. Somebody turns around, like,
we can't talk about that in this room. We've done it so many times.
I'm glad I'm not in charge of it, because it would never get pushed.
Dude. There's been a couple times.
Leave it on
15 minutes
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before I forget, man, thank you guys so much for being so gracious to allow us in your place, and
thank you.
Much appreciated.
Recording our stuff and having this interview with us. I mean, this is a really big,
great experience.
Well, we always appreciate everybody's time, and when you come in and you nail it. You guys were just awesome. So, we're not done yet, but it's always our pleasure.
Yeah, it really. I say it every
really
week,
is.
but it's like it's Monday. Mondays suck ass. I work 10 hours today, and then I come here, and it's always the highlight of my week to just get to hear some live music in this room. Live music is always just special. So you all were really, really cool. Very just interesting sound, and I'm interested to dig in a little bit to just like I know you have all kinds of influences, but just like what they are and like kind of what everybody is into.
Yeah, definitely got to go around the room on that. Like major influences that what creates you all to create what is Limestone.
Yeah, even if it's just one or two bands that you're really into.
So yeah, growing up, middle school and high school in the 90s. So, talking Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, like all those guys.
Right.
And then later on, I found my parents' record collection and the record player. So that's when I became like a Led Zeppelin freak. And then like Cream and Hendrix. And
you know what? I heard some Bonham on that third song. I heard that.
So I'd say those are the major ones for me.
Right
just,
on.
broad stroking.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with any of those.
What about you, Way?
I think it's hard because I listen to a lot of different music, and I feel like listening to music and making music are kind of like two separate things for me.
Agree.
So at least like if I'm just talking about like the music I have played in my life, like I started classical, I was in orchestra until like forever. I mean, not very seriously. I was like this slacker second violin, like the one who like doesn't really place in like your region or all state. But and then in college, I took it for like no credit because I wasn't a performance major. But I got here, I did community orchestra for a little while. Then like I found the folk music community. As I started playing with like Louisville Folk School. And
sweet.
There's a lot of great people that.
So like that's the first time I'm like, I play
Blakely,
fiddle
I can
now.
think of
Because I'm
so,
cool.
yeah.
Like I have the street cred of fiddler.
Yeah.
So
not
we
really.
killed it on fiddle.
I can see
I
what's
saw
It is
that
cool,
for a while.
though. And then that's really like around that time, like getting out of orchestra, doing like other kinds of music, finding the way that other people do music, like no sheet music, like make it up as you go. Like it seems like you're just like plucking music out of the air. I'm like, where do you get it from? Like you didn't write it down first? Like this is
All right, I've got two points. We'll come back to what you just said, but before everything you say is interesting. Number one, how you listen to music and how you play music is different. And I heard you say you agree.
Agree, yeah.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, I love to listen to pop music and disco, like dancey stuff.
Uh-huh.
Not what you make.
But when I get with the band, and then I get inspired by what the band is doing, and I've found that like the way I sing is just not like the music that I like to listen to.
Totally
So
got to call you on that. The slow song, that falsetto high stuff you're doing.
Change
what are
your
you
ways.
talking about? That's as poppy, sweet, beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, you incorporate it regardless of what. I mean, it's in there because that takes me to like Prince. My number one, my 16, almost 17-year-old kid who's, I don't know if he's up there right now or still looking for records, actually, is a huge Prince fan. So as soon as you hit that, I go, oh, okay, my kid would love this. He loves Prince. So, and that is as mainstream pop with the baddest dude in the world back in the day influence on top of. So there is incorporation with, maybe you don't see it because all of your stuff doesn't sound like that. But the fact that you can bleed those things makes it even more interesting.
And I think it's kind of hard to observe your own work objectively.
Especially when it is just like, it's hard to define. Like I make country-ish music and it's just like, that's what it is. But like, it is hard to put like a label on what you all do. And I wouldn't even have thought what Neil said about the Prince thing, but as soon as he said it, I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think like, every true musician has their own voice. And so like, if you're true to your voice, it's not going to sound like anybody else. It's going to sound like you. And that's what is authentic. And I think that this band has many different voices that are true to themselves, and it creates a totally different sound for every song and every influence, because we do come from just different backgrounds, and it's it speaks for itself. But I think that that's the true key, is that each musician having their own voice and their own way of doing it and staying true to that means that, the best artists, when you hear them, you're like, that's Prince. I know that. That's Prince, Those are the guys that have their voice. And so it's like, don't try to be just like them.
Yeah.
Be your own voice, And it's fun to be that.
Well,
and I love that the band does that.
Of the 3 songs I sang tonight, I only wrote lyrics for one of them. So the one song was written by Jeff, and the other song was written by Steven.
In InSub's voice.
Well, here, the fact that you say, and I'm going to get back to point number 2 in a minute. I won't forget. I wrote it down, which I don't usually do, but it's important. Something that you're speaking to when you say that, you wrote one and you wrote one of those tunes, and you wrote the other, I'm assuming. There's three writers on 3 different songs that you sang tonight. And also what you were speaking to is being true to yourself. It's not even necessarily that. It's that everybody allows the space to listen to each other. There is a trueness to yourself.
Have a voice and listen.
But if the 5 other people in the band didn't have open ears to what was going on, it wouldn't work that way. It wouldn't be as easy to go, yeah, I'll sing that song. Oh, hey, I wrote this song for you. That doesn't necessarily happen very often. It doesn't necessarily happen in a lot of bands, or it doesn't happen in a lot of bands. And I don't think most people write a song thinking, I'm writing this in somebody else's voice. So it's very cool, and it says a lot about that willingness to share and the openness to listen and all those separate things that you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's a conversation.
Yes.
When you play with different musicians, and the bigger the group, the more you have to listen and sit back and be a part of the conversation. Nobody likes the person that's yelling during, that's talking over everybody,
Yeah. Well,
that wants to be the center of the attention. You have to let it kind of like share.
And it's
then it
interesting
becomes a
too,
fun
because
thing.
of course they brought these songs that they had written, and then I was like, man, I'm really feeling that, and I would love to try and sing your song, but of course I can't sing it like you. I'm gonna have to sing it my way. So it was just really gracious of them to be like, okay, yeah, give it a go.
And as the guitarist that came in, they had a slew of songs that I had to learn.
Well,
and they had a really good guitarist before me. And it was kind of like, wow, this guy plays it his way. It was in his voice. And I had to say, look, I'm not going to play it in his voice. I got to find my own way in this song, in my voice, to make it work,
You're very lucky, because you were the new guy for 14 minutes. So you got to kind of slide in and go, well, you hear what that new guy played on this trumpet? Man.
Oh, no, mistakes were made.
I'm
John,
sure
what about your musical influence?
Well, so when I got here, it was kind of almost an eye-opening experience. I had to take a music history test at U of L, as kind of they have to figure out how good you are at all these skills. Well, I failed the early music portion of this test. And so the way that I kind of took care of it is I actually dove really deep into it. So it's an early music ensemble. And by early music, I mean 1500s, 1600s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I fell in love with the Baroque trumpet.
Okay.
So the Baroque trumpet's about twice as long as your traditional one, has no valves,
Yeah.
right? So everything is you have to really use your mouth and everything to make sure that everything is pitched perfectly, correctly, right? But that music is also a lot more rich, right? And so I kind of really fell into that at U of L when I was studying there. And kind of as a result, I actually had applied for a Fulbright to study with a teacher in Germany. I ended up not getting it, but kind of in the mix of it all, I actually started listening to festival bands in Germany. So the city that I was going to study in was Cologne. and they have a carnival every year with a ton of bands, and they have very robust wind sections, right? So I'm going to name a few: Pam Pam Ida, Querbeat, La Brass Banda, one that Bukahara that we might do. So in some ways, like I've kind of really grown, even though I have virtually no idea what they're singing because I haven't learned German well enough yet to understand the lyrics. I love the sound, and so I listen to it a lot. And kind of as a result, I've kind of curated little bits and pieces of what I like, and in some ways, I feel like I'm kind of becoming we should play this as a cover person.
Yeah, pretty normal stuff. Is what you're saying, right?
He's turned me on to a lot of those artists that I'd never heard before. So
yes, that's
I
awesome.
think that explains the German bands on the Spotify
Absolutely,
playlist a lot.
100%.
It's all
thank
coming
goodness,
together.
fun way to learn foreign languages. Spotify actually puts those German lyrics so you can read them while they're singing. So it's kind of fun to follow and pick out the few words that you actually understand. But
All right, so John, this is probably more for John and Way than the rest of the guys, the rest of the group. With Way, you mentioned saying coming from the background that you came from, of having being very, very educated in music and going through those steps, and you as well. And this is why I asked, because my son that I mentioned earlier, he's a baritone saxophone player that is very, very instructed, very, very good, tonally really, really spot on. But when I ask him, hey, you want to come down and play? He's like, do you have sheet music? I'm like, no, I don't have sheet music. Just come down and play. And he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not doing that. We'll just play like this simple thing. So how is the transition from what is there about there's a lot of questions in this question. So is it just allowing yourself the ability to listen to what's going on and write your own parts, or is it coming from a background of seeing everything written and what everybody's playing and seeing the harmonies and making the chords and making the progressions? What is it that is? Because I've dabbled in a little bit of training, and everything else I'm one of those people that are lucky. I can hear something. I go, okay, here's what it is. Here's what we're playing. So it's hard for me to understand your side of things. So why I ask that? What is it about that? Is there a freedom of what? Just both of you explain.
Okay. Yeah. So it's really interesting. Because I know that, I never went to a conservatory, for example, but I have plenty of friends who have, and they have horror stories of if they're not perfectly prepared for their lesson, the teacher literally takes their instrument and throws it out in the hallway, right? And says, come back to me when you're prepared, right? And so I think there is kind of some level of judgment of if I don't have sheet music, I don't have this thing in front of me to prepare this music as well as I possibly can. I think, with jazz folks, obviously they're in a completely different environment where the people that are teaching them have obviously had to go through the ropes. It's sort of like a master apprentice kind of thing, right? I don't know a whole lot about jazz history, but I know like Miles Davis spent time with Louis Armstrong, right? And so those people taught each other. And I imagine there was some level of compassion and kind of openness to let those people screw up a little bit, right? Where maybe in the conservatory, that's probably not something that's real.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's these two YouTube comedians called Two Set Violin, and they go a lot into the culture that is what John was just talking about, where it's like hyper competitive and like you develop this like complex about being perfect. But that's what that reminded me of. As for me, like on my musical journey, I think that it's like when you're a kid, like you do things because other people put something in front of you. And like if you're good at it, then like you usually feel good about that, and then you'll keep doing the thing. And I think when you're an adult and you decide you like something, you do it because of that. Like at some point in my life, I decided that music actually matters to me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I started like going out and seeking musicians and like what music means and what it means to make music. Like before I'd be like, oh, I like read music and I play the music. I didn't like learn anything by ear. So that's like one of the things that I learned first when I like
I will say sometimes I'm playing a chord or I'm playing in the key and I have no idea what key I'm playing in. But I can just ask John or Way and they know exactly what key I'm playing in or what chord I'm playing, and they don't even play my instrument I'm playing. So they're a big help to me to because I've just played by ear, kind of like you were talking about, and they just educated me on how to be a real musician, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like that's an attitude I find a lot, like with people who like taught themselves, they like don't feel like they're real. And I feel like I'm not real because like I didn't like
imposter syndrome type of deal.
Yeah, like but I didn't do this because I wanted to do it. Like you actually did it because you wanted to do it for the entire time you've ever done this
thing.
They
found these guys. What I love about them is they found some people to fall down the steps with. You know, they're like, these guys are making mistakes all the time and like
whatever.
falling down the steps, but they land on their feet. They're like cats or something. And it's like, yeah, you know, like it's okay, and like just play what you feel, and you know,
But to be fair,
and it's inviting, and you know,
like,
it's fun.
As I say, from my perspective, again, like learning how to improv and fit in with the music, kind of first time, right? I'm doing the same thing, and I think that's what's really exciting. It's funny that you talk about your journey of it being in front of you. Well, my journey into music was, I remember getting like some Fisher Price piano, like, you know, and like learning how to play the Mario theme song on it, right? So like my first thing was literally like, really trying to figure out what things sounded like, right? You know, and then like for a long time I became a church musician, and I would, you know, kind of conduct a choir, and was just blown away that one of our piano players told me that she didn't know how to read music. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because you're like killing it right now. Like, how is that possible? And so, you know, kind of being in here and like being able to work in a space that's just free for me to explore without any judgment of how many notes I'm actually playing right or incorrectly is nice.
And as an unschooled fool of a musician, you know, my thing is if you make a mistake, repeat that mistake so that people are like, oh man, he meant to do that. I see now. Yeah, it's like
he did mean to play that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
There is some jazz book that says there are no wrong notes. As long as, you know.
I find it. Go ahead.
And them coming along was kind of a big paradigm shift for me, because it's like the stigma is opposite at the two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're tying this in.
Because Way comes along and then I'm like, oh, well, you know all this stuff and you're classically trained. I'm getting kind of intimidated, you know, because I'm like, well, I have very little training, and, you know, my music theory understanding is kind of rudimentary and mostly about feel and less about, you know, knowledge. And it just never occurred to me that someone with a better level of understanding and knowledge of the theory would be able to enjoy playing together with someone who's having struggle just to speak the same language. And so I'm like, well, you know, I'm not going to be able to tell you the note and the chord necessarily, so it might be a little bit of a struggle, but they never made it that way. To hang out with us, they never made it like, oh, this is such a hassle playing with you guys.
Honestly, it took me a couple tries to get into a band. So like this was like really like I had tried like making a band with like some people I knew at work, like a drummer and a guitarist, and then like we could never like practice regularly, and I was like, do these people even care? Like, and then at some point I like met Jeff. I was an apprentice. I'm still an apprentice electrician. Oh
we're both electricians.
Yeah. There's 3 electricians in this band.
You should have seen me a couple weeks ago. You would have been shocked.
Well, I'm sure you guys can attest. It's big struggle to try and keep a band together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
think that's the thing that what
6 of
made
them.
the most
Six.
impression on me was that like Jeff was talking about like, oh, it's like a Friday night tradition. We've been doing this for years, and I'm like, oh, you like care.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a want. Number one, it's a want to you as a musician of any sort that's in any type of band, leader or player in that band, you want buy-in. You want everybody that is in the band to want to be in the band. Yeah, generally for me, you want everybody in the band that be their thing. Not only just to be in the band, but they really want to be in the band. They really want to be a part of it. They really want to write. They really want to perform. They really want to do those things. And sometimes lack of hinders the rest. So when you have enough like-minded people, it makes that thing go. But I do find it interesting. I love the tie-in to what you all were talking about with having you all who are trained and the guys who think that they're not trained because they've done it themselves instead of went through a system. There's always that gap of, am I good enough? The one thing that I found out in 202 episodes is that nobody feels like they're done learning. Nobody feels like they're better on any level. We've had stud singers. We've had the Scott Smiths and we've had the stud players and singers, the Ellie Ruths and the Dusty Bows and I can just name a million different people. Those are the people I can think of offhand because they're in my lexicon. And groups like the Pretty Goods and so many other people that come in and they always talk about how they're not there. They're still
It always feels like
trying.
there's the next step. And it's like, how do I like feel like I'm so close, and how do I scratch my way up to this next step?
There is no there, though. There is no there.
What is there?
There is no there.
Where is there? Yes.
But there is a journey.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. So, like, it's about saying, hey, I got more to go, and just like pushing through and not saying that I'm not good enough. It's just that I'm on a journey and I'm constantly like wanting to test myself. And, part of playing guitar, when you first pick up a guitar, or any instrument, you're not very good at it. You're very bad. And it takes a lot of like, hey, I'm willing to step in on the journey and try and get good at this thing. And then finally it sounds okay. And then you're like, I'm going to play it more. And you just keep that going. And if you're a true musician, that never stops, because if it does, then, you don't need to play once a week or twice a week or
there's that. But there's also a true vulnerability in that artistic mind.
Oh, sure.
That almost has a pain inside them. It's a weird piece. It's almost
a nakedness.
It's something. It's hard to put a finger on it because everybody expresses it different. Jeff, it's funny that your name's Jeff, as a matter of fact. I didn't even put this together until now, but it's funny that your name's Jeff for one reason, because the guy that I think about when I think about you and I talk to you is a guy named Jeff, and he lives right down the road from me, and he's one of the reasons I play music.
Oh.
And he could tell you what a chord is, he could tell you what a lot of stuff is, but he couldn't show you. The fact that he doesn't have your knowledge about music and your knowledge about music makes him feel less than, and he's never is. But you can see sometimes when he feels that. And as somebody that has enough of both to be dangerous, it makes me go, you're better than most people I know. You could sit in a room with anybody in the world. You don't have to know what FACE is on a treble clef to know what music is. You don't have to read it to know it. You don't have to understand progressions to understand progressions. So there is a thing that is super interesting in the fact that it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you know. It doesn't matter what you think you know. It doesn't matter what somebody's taught you. It doesn't matter what you learned on your own. There's some super vulnerability inside this room and inside most musicians that I've met in my life that allow them to be susceptible to ideas. And I think it's one of the most important things that I've learned in my life and one of the most important things that I see sometimes. And when you have 6 people in a band like you all that have come from all these different places and they're finding their way and finding these songs and have 3 songs that they sing written by 3 different people and listen and have trained musicians and people that have learned without knowing what they're playing and couldn't tell you what note they're in, but listen. I think there's something so that the world can learn from that. We are in a weird place in this world, but wouldn't it be cool if everybody could understand how to do that in a different way?
Just share a conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. That's what I learn every week. He says it a lot, man. This is the best day of the week, and it really is.
And I think when you get in front of the right audience, not necessarily social media, but like a real audience, then you get that reinforcing feedback that, I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, will try and put themselves out there, and you're being vulnerable when you put yourself out there. You made something, and you perform it and warts and all, and you put it out there, and for every one person that'll give you kudos, there's 1,000 more that'll try and put you down. So I think that's probably why these musicians are like that. It's so easy to be like, oh, well, I listen to the radio and this thing just sounds so polished and clean and fantastic,
And it sucks.
And maybe it sucks, but I mean,
it doesn't. I take that back. It
never misses a beat, and then you're like, well, I'm learning over here, and I'm creating, and I'm molding this, rough thing, and trying to turn it into a diamond if I can. And so I think it's just real easy to. It
sucks because of comparison. It sucks because you go, well, mine doesn't sound like this.
It's tough. Yeah, I feel like no matter what kind of art you're doing, no matter how good you are. I know great guitar players who still are like, I want to quit sometimes, and you're like, why the fuck would you quit? You're the best guitar player I've ever seen, and I feel like. It's tough because there is no end. It's just like, it is a journey, and you never get there. And so when you see people ahead of you, maybe in the journey or whatever however you want to put it, you go, why am I not there? And it's just because you're on your own journey.
Or you lose the drive to get better, and you're just like, I'm in a spot, I don't really care anymore.
I want to tie that point into why I thought, for me, that listening to music is different from creating music.
Please, thank you.
By the way, that camera says low battery on it.
Don't worry about it until it's dead.
Okay.
We're almost done here anyway.
Yeah, so the music I listen to, if I'm just like have my headphones on, like it's super polished, it came through some studio and they're trying to get you to stream it over and over again. And then like I get out into the real world and we're all talking about live music, and I like sit there and I see the muscles of the person move who's like moving something so that a sound will happen, and they planned it. And like I'm breathing the same air that is vibrating with that sound. And suddenly it's like, oh my God, this is why.
Yeah.
And
that's sharing. That's sharing.
Yeah. So it's like, part of it is like an all sensory experience. And part of it is that like when that whole picture comes together, I'm like, oh, there's a person there. They cared. I'm like receiving their message right now.
And their joy in their work is going through that sound wave too.
Yeah, I think so. I really feel strongly about being part of the music community. And that's, I think, what pulled me into like really making music.
You hit Louisville folk music. Yeah. It's hard not to be wanting to be a part of a scene, because that Louisville folk scene's tight.
Dope. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And if like earlier, if the band was talking about a little bit like, a leader. I'm like, I'm not a leader, but they sometimes joke about me being a manager because I'm like the one who's like, we got to like get out there because we need to be part of everything else that is happening. Like I see people doing their thing. Like I'm like one step from there, except I need to get 5 other people's schedules, to coordinate.
Way's
to do
the
that.
one.
And thank you, Way, for
in
that.
the group.
So like that's why I'm like reaching out to you all, because you all are pulling people together too.
We're doing our best.
Like this is like the reason.
So, Way, I guess what we need to ask you as the band leader and director for everybody that wants to find Limestone, where can we go and find you all?
So we have an Instagram. I usually run that. I'm not on Facebook, but stuff does get double posted to Facebook. InSub is kind of in charge of that. So we're Limestone Band on both Instagram and Facebook. We're trying to get our stuff up on streaming platforms, including Spotify. I think we have some stuff on YouTube that's live, that's not already recorded.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of videos from like Magbar and some other locations.
Yeah. That's where we are online, really, but you should come out and see us live.
Absolutely.
When do you play next?
We're trying to play at the Chapel St. Philip near I.
Oh, cool. Very cool venue.
Yeah. So I live right near, well, everyone lives pretty near there except John he's the farthest in Fern Creek, but everyone is like Old Louisville.
He's a creeker.
Yeah. Old Louisville, Highlands.
Sorry, he's got the closest drive to get home. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but we're going to be playing there February 2nd. We're still confirming the other bands. And I might try to ask some other artists to like table there just because like they're not selling alcohol. Just might as well get like zine makers, comic makers come in. Those are my dreams. We're still trying to make this happen. So
evidently you're the boss, so make it work. All right?
I'll follow those streams. I'll follow those streams.
All right,
We just had a show Saturday at 21st at Germantown.
Great spot. That's a cool room.
Yeah.
That room is evolved
I'm
too.
playing there in like
Great
2 weeks.
stage.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a great bar, and we played there twice, and they got a good setup, and we played after a nice comedy show, and it was a wonderful time.
Sweet.
I've done it. I've been the encore to the comedy show.
Yeah, it's a great bar. And
I've got some comedy songs that I could do.
Yeah, you go try them out.
I do.
Open mic night.
I got some. All right. So everybody else, check us out. Top Hill Recording on Instagram. Subscribe to the
subscribe.
YouTube.
It just takes a second. It's easy to do.
That's the best thing you could do for us. Subscribe.
It's
to
easy
YouTube.
to do. It's free.
It's easy peasy. That's all I can think about. I had something else to say, but I totally forgot you guys. We really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, you all were dope. This was really, really
it was
fun.
an awesome
Thank
time.
you. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.